Hey everyone, welcome to this week's What's Up Wednesday. My name is Rachel, and today I'm joined by Rebecca Armentrout. Rebecca is the founder and executive director of Nebula Early Childhood Collaborative. Thank you for joining us today, Rebecca.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Real quick, before we get started, I just want to go over a few things, and thank you all for watching with us live today. If you have not heard of Early Learning Ventures, we are a 501c3 nonprofit based out of Colorado, and our mission is to expand access to quality and affordable childcare. So one of the ways that we focus our efforts on improving the quality of early childhood programs is by providing these resources and sharing knowledge through these weekly What's Up Wednesday videos. These videos are live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday at 1 o'clock p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So each week I meet with somebody who can share knowledge and resources that maybe you or someone on your team or the families that you work with might benefit from. So if you're watching live with us today, don't forget to ask questions in the chat, interact with us, share these videos out with your colleagues and your friends to help get the word out. So today, Rebecca is going to be talking with us about reflective practices, collaboration, and avoiding burnout, and lots more. So why don't you get started, Rebecca, and tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of introduce us to Nebula Early Childhood Collaborative.
Absolutely. Well, I'm excited to be here because this is something that's been a passion of mine in early childhood for a long time. I actually have been in early childhood for about 20 years now and have worked in so many different areas of Colorado and the community, as well as different types of structures of programs. One of the things that has, I think, been a challenge for our community and understanding is sometimes those providing services maybe haven't been in the classroom very recently. And what I'll say is a lot of the collaborators that we work with, those that also provide direct services as well as myself, have been in the classroom very recently as an early childhood teacher and see the need of the resources. So when Nebula was founded in 2021, we're a nonprofit, a 501c3 as well. And I was struggling with finding a place where people felt that they were treated as a whole human being. And so we're asked to do a lot as early childhood providers, parents. We saw a lot of challenges during the pandemic. Like, now I'm the teacher. How do I do this with these skills? And so with Nebula, we work together with community partners, with other specialists in order to be able to fill the capacity of resources. Because I think we really run by a no wrong door entry. So being able to connect with the collaborative, we have a lot of different resources here, but we also have a wide knowledge of what early childhood systems are like and how you can navigate early childhood systems overall.
Awesome, thank you. I am getting an error message. It looks like we're live on YouTube, but not on Facebook. So let's see here. I'm trying to edit it, and I don't know. Technical difficulties, huh?
Technology is great until it doesn't work sometimes.
Right.
That's where I think that was like the biggest learning curve. I work with a lot of communities that are from other countries, other backgrounds, and technology gap is real for a lot of us.
Yes. Well, let's go ahead and we'll just keep going, and I might have to just post this on Facebook later, but we are live on YouTube, so we'll just keep going with it.
Wonderful.
Okay, thank you for that great introduction. So, how would you say that Nebula collaborates with childcare providers to create a supportive environment that prioritizes their own well-being?
So a lot of what we do is still use all evidence-based practices that have existed in the field and continue to emerge with current research. But it's really looking at where the individual is at. I think one of the biggest things when we're looking at an individual in early childhood who's on the front line and in the workforce, we often find that there are basic needs not being met. And in some coaching and reflective practice, we are really asking people to have some really big self-awareness. And what we know using things like Maslow's hierarchy of needs is that if my basic needs aren't met, like my stable housing or having access to food or safety in connection with domestic violence or family violence, those types of things can actually really interfere with a person's ability to engage in reflective practice or be present for the children they serve. So when we work with program leadership, so when I'm working with a program directly, a lot of times we start with the process of just really getting to know the individual. Then we're expanding from that, knowing that I say this all the time, when the grown-up's not okay, the kids are not okay. So having that grown-up feel stable, because so many educators and even parents have the good skills. It's a matter of having hope for the world today that we get to continue to use those skills. So instead of bringing in just a simplified checklist, I mean, that's one approach that we use when we're doing more formalized assessment with some of our partners. We're first just looking at what motivates, what drives you. Sometimes it's, why did you get in the field to begin with? I think that's the most profound question we can ask ourselves to re-energize is, why do I show up for kids? So it really is helping people to become resilient is more than just talking about it. It's actually feeling supported in context of community and creating what we can call brave spaces, not just safe spaces. A place that I can be myself is what a brave space looks like for us.
I like that. Yeah, I've never heard that term before, but I might start using that, the brave space. But I mean, it's like you can't pour from an empty cup, right? So you have to focus on filling your own cup and having resources for that.
Right. And co-regulation is such a big piece of working with children and adults. If I can't feel my feet on the ground and have a sense of center, the people around me are going to pick up on that, whether I'm expressing that out loud or not. So I think that's a lot of what we first focus on. And what I will say is when we identify things that are greater mental health needs, we have worked in a trauma-informed process constantly, is that we might have someone enter an engagement with us and we're discovering, have you ever considered engaging community services to support your mental health? Or what does a well-being plan sound like for you? And so we don't provide mental health services, but we have many people we collaborate with and work with in all kinds of ways, not just formal counseling, but lots of different ways to approach well-being and community engagement.
Okay, so to sort of, give the tools and resources, point them in the right direction, just having someone on your side and being supportive.
Sometimes providers feel scared to say something or don't feel understood, like don't have the words yet. And how is this big feeling I'm feeling about this child who's experiencing a really tough home life? This is affecting me. But now I'm realizing I have deeper things that are affecting me. And this is why this big feeling's coming up. And for some people, it's not just engaging in formal mental health, but maybe a spiritual community or a support group or those types of things. And so when we explore human-centered versus looking at a website, you have someone who knows you, who's going to be able to brainstorm options that you're empowered to go seek out.
Yeah, I like that. And it was before we had gone live, but you had mentioned, everybody learns differently. So that's what's great, right? When you have a real human that you're working with closely like that, and they can help recognize what works best for you.
Right. And what I'll say is, when we were talking before, one thing I mentioned is not everyone's a good fit. I can say that as a classroom teacher, I love all of my students, but I wasn't always a good fit for all my students. And that's where having a network and being open-minded of collaboration together allows us to find that good fit within a system of support.
Yeah, because there's nothing wrong with that, but it is important to recognize it. Okay, so what are some common signs or indicators of burnout that childcare providers might experience?
Oh, that's real. Yeah. I think when I've really looked at, there are a couple different things to say about that. One is we talk a lot about burnout. And what I've noticed is what we pay attention to is what grows. right?
Mhm.
First, usually in personal and professional experience, we stop taking care of basic needs. And that's when I was mentioning things like we look at that first. So what's real is I didn't drink water today because I didn't know if I'd get a bathroom break. There are people that just need that reminder of you deserve to ask for a physical need to be met, and that does not make you selfish or a poor professional in your job.
Yeah.
Further than that is getting to know, so there's a progress with burnout. It doesn't start. And actually, burnout, I think sometimes we think we can think our way out of it. It's not. At that point, it's become physical. You are physically drained. You can feel it. And so it is possible to come back from burnout, and many in our industry are experiencing it. I think I saw somewhere even this morning about 46% of the workforce overall last year, not just our workforce, just nationwide, are experiencing burnout. But where we're looking at it is saying, okay, what self-awareness? Once I can know my basic needs are met, I can start spotting these signs early. So one of the first things I do when I start as a director or teacher is really, I'm going to prove that I'm good at my job. Well, that's already, I'm pushing myself harder than who I am and capable of doing and why.
Mm-hmm.
So it's finding those, what are my flags? Where are my places? So we talk actually about green flags. What are the things I know when I'm doing really well? And what are maybe my yellow flags? So my yellow flag is often maybe I'm rescheduling doctor's appointments frequently over work. And so as we know those things in a context of a relationship, when then that teacher is mentioning those things or that
Mm-hmm.
parent's mentioning those things, it's, oh, so we're on this road. Where are you physically? And we pull back to that beginning relationship based, because this is not the time we need to talk about the 100 more things you need to do today. This is the time we need to slow down and feel connected. So the other biggest piece is instilling hope. So it's looking at, instead of paying attention to burnout, we really as an agency pay attention to, and how can we deliver hope to those that we work with.
Okay, and that kind of ties back into what you first said too, is, you know, what we focus on grows. So if you're focusing on hope and that partnership and watching out for those yellow flags, that will grow more of that mindset, right?
Right. And actually, I think people misunderstand hope. It's not a wish. It's not empty promises. It actually there are scientific methods in being able to promote that in well-being. There's tons of research out there about it. So what we're really focusing on is, where are the positives that we can continue to support? Just like when we look at children, we're looking at what skills should we grow. We don't look at a child and say, okay, you're hopeless today, so you're burnt out. We look at them and we say, you're having a difficult moment. How can we help you change where you are now? And we can use the same approach with adults.
Yeah. Can you describe for us reflective practice and how you help caregivers thrive through reflective practice and collaboration?
Absolutely. So there are different ways. I should back up and just when I use the term caregivers, it's because we serve both educators in the formal setting working with young children, but we also serve those that support the system, such as coaches. In Colorado, we work with ECLA, the Early Childhood Leadership Alliance, and we're able to provide at no cost for coaches, but we work with all.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I know. Yeah, caregivers can sometimes, I think we all kind of have a different meaning for that word in our heads.
And so parents are considered caregivers as well. So we do this in some different modalities. One is setting down the foundation. Like I've said, like it sounds redundant, but nurturing yourself, because we do nurturing parenting, is not a selfish thing. You can't, I think you said this before, you can't pour from an empty cup. right? So when we think about it like that, we first want to set that foundation. Once we're able to do that, we're also ready to start learning some self-aware practice. So we do different types of mindful exercises, whether it be mindful eating, learning breathing tactics. Yoga is a really effective tool for those who are like on that tipping point. Do I do yoga? Cosmic Kids Yoga is perfectly fine, friends. Like to do it with, the YouTube easy preschool version. It actually promotes a lot of physical and emotional well-being. Reflective practice in a formal way, we're able to look at situations in our life. And when we do group setting, we're also able to give different perspectives. So I know in my own reflective practice, I often can bring challenges to this brave space and say, I'm really frustrated, I'm really stuck, I don't know what else I can do, and use the power of a group and their ability to reflect because they have perspective, they're not in the moment, to be able to feed back different ideas, for us to look at it different and go back to our work, go back to, and we even do this with parents. We have a conversation as parents. What are expectations in your home for your child? And they're all able to share with each other and reflect, because we might do 12 weeks with them, but you have a lifelong relationship with these children. So I think it's just really setting down a habit. And I say a lot in the professional development and trainings I provide, I can't teach these practices in 1 or 2 hours. This is a practice. This is a lifelong journey. So being able to exercise that skill almost as a muscle, I think, is a big piece of it.
Amy said, I think it was related to the question before that, but she said, I love this. We can take the cape off and not be a superhero.
Yeah, absolutely. It's okay for us to, our society doesn't always give us a pause. So it's up to us sometimes to listen to our body, and to do that, being in our body and being self-aware is part of reflective practice.
Yeah. Are the resources that you mentioned available only to those who are in Colorado?
No. So in Colorado, we sometimes have specific grant funding and things like that, but we do provide things virtually as well. We actually work with a lot of collaborators of various languages, such as Dari, Arabic, Spanish, to be able to have access to professional development. Our professional development actually is provided with different topics on well-being on the first Tuesday of every month, but it's Mountain Standard Time at 6:30 p.m. So that's kind of what the difference is.
Okay, but anybody could join that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. If they want to reach out and join our newsletter, I put those out all the time in our newsletter, so they have access. We are on Facebook as well. Awesome. That's a place that there are great resources. But we do, I think when I, as a human, look at these resources and am feeling in a financial stretch, I want to assume maybe I can't afford it. And so we really work with people. That's why they're provided for free, and people can certainly give what they can because we are a nonprofit. At the same time, we do sliding scale and scholarships to make sure that there is access to anyone who needs services.
Great, thank you. Yeah, and that's incredible that you have so many language options as well. And I did just put the link to your website in the comment section. So for anybody watching who wants to join the newsletter, they can just click that link to learn more. And then if anyone has any questions, I'm also going to put the email that you provided me in the comments as well. And is that the best place for someone to reach out if they just want to know more, the best thing for them to sign up for, anything like that?
Absolutely. And so I did want to mention too a couple different ways that people might want to connect with us. But email is usually best because we do work across different time zones and things like that sometimes. And so it does allow that connection time, but there are also opportunities to set up a call. I love to do walk-in talks, not just Zoom. So it can be a lot of different modalities, whatever works best for people. Yeah, and I just wanted to also mention that we're always looking for collaborators to join us. And so what that looks like is we work with a lot of not younger coaches as far as that goes, but maybe someone starting a new business or has a dream and a vision. So we have something called a collaborative table, and we really call it a dreaming space. So we come together, we get to know each other. So instead of just referring you to someone, when I was talking about that referral method, we know each other. We work together. What I've heard out of that space is it allows people to believe it's possible. And that's that hope again, right? There's a will, there's a way. So that's another way. So it's not just professional development, reflective supervision. I did want to put that out there, that's something that you're also welcome to reach out just to learn more about what a collaboration looks like, or to engage with our services too.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you mentioned that because, we can't do everything on our own and we can't know everything on our own. And, there's so many resources out there, but just having a group to come together and connect with and bounce ideas off of, sometimes all it takes is just to have another set of eyes on something. And you see something that was right in front of you, but it didn't click until you have someone there with you on your team. And yeah.
Right. And Nebula itself, I don't think I explained this yet. So Nebula itself stands for what a nebula is. And what we saw during the pandemic was an explosion of education system. It fell apart. And what a nebula does is it's a nursery for new stars. So as we come together and we spin together with gravity, we come together and we build new, bright, and innovative things versus just staying lost in all the gases. So I know it's a different name for an early childhood program, but that's where that comes from, is really trying to bring that light.
I love that. I'm so glad you mentioned that because, I don't think I knew that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Rebecca. If anybody is watching, like I said, I have Rebecca's email in the comments section as well as in the description of this video, and website as well for Nebula Early Childhood Collaborative. So reach out, join the newsletter. Be sure to follow us on Facebook to watch out for future What's Up Wednesday recordings and live videos on YouTube as well. And thank you all so much for watching. All right, I hope you all have a good rest of your day. Bye.